So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build a new double-decker bus, mid-shelf, unregistered mid-shelf quality, and the bus I'm going to build is going to be a front-engined and also a front-engined stroke transmission power unit, all in the front overhang. Now the Volvo also had the engine in the front overhang, but the transmission was in the centre of the chassis, and then from there the prop shaft went to the rear axle. Well, I'm going to build a unique model. It's never been built anywhere to my knowledge, but I'm going to build one anyway, out of Lego, and it's going to have the engine and transmission in the centre of the front overhang, in the same position where the engine is on the Volvo Elsa, but the transmission will also be on the back of the engine, and then there'll be a long prop shaft to the rear diff on the rear axle. So that's the plan. I haven't got anything started yet, so I'm going to just begin the build on the 3rd of January 2024, 20 past 10 at night. It's my day off the day, so like I've done before on my other videos, it's a wee bit at a time. I do a wee bit here and a wee bit there just in my free time. And just to put you in the picture, I've already built Volvo Elsa double deckers out of Lego. It's an AV Type 1. I've done a video on that already. This is an RV Type 1, my favourite. Engine at the front. I've got lots of models. If you look back on my Lego project series, I go into a lot of detail regarding the models that I've built. The engine's at the front overhang there, transmission in the centre, and it runs the power to the rear axle. So the model is going to be of the same sort of dimensions and weight, only the engine and the transmission will be at the front overhang, and there'll be a long prop shaft going to the rear. The Volvo Elsa double-decker bus was built, and it was designed and built in the 1970s. In the city of Dundee, most of its fleet was made up of Volvo Elsa buses. I've made videos regarding Volvo Elsa buses on much earlier videos on my channel. You just look them back if you want to see them. I titled the whole 3-part series Volvo Elsa Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. That's much earlier on in my channel. If you want to see them, just go back and type the Volvo Elsa article, my article, and it should come up. If I remember, I'll put a link in the descriptions, but I'm sure you'll find it. The thing that's required is the wheels. This is my Enviro 400, Alexander Dennis Enviro 400 MMC model that I built. Top shelf quality model. There's a separate video on this. I'm going to use that as a template for the dimensions. If you want to see this being built, look at my Lego project series earlier on my channel. I'll bring the Elsa down to use as a bit of a guide as well for some of the technical aspects of it. The floor layout and how the engine pod is going to be built. So I'm just using it as a template again to incorporate onto my design. When I say my design, this is my design anyway, because I designed and built them all. But I should have said on this design, on this particular model. And it's been different because this is going to have the engine and transmission over the front overhang. On the Elsa, the engine is just over the front overhang. Transmission is in the centre of the chassis. I've got the representatives in there. I built this model years ago, about 7 or 8 years ago. I've got a prop shaft going in there, right along on the underside. I've got all the representatives in there. So, but this model is going to be unique because it's going to have the prop shaft running all the way from the front to the rear axle. So I've got to design it in. The grill off the Elsa to show the engine. There on. The engine representative that I've put in there. So I'm just trying to get the proportions right on this model and using the Elsa as a template. Engine pod and floor pan and chassis. So with the Volvo Elsa chassis, I've temporarily took it off the floor pan at the moment. The structure to hold it together is on the outside. the overlaps are on the outside. And that keeps the inside area clear for the drive line that's going to run through there. The exhaust system representative will also run through there as well. Also on the other side of the chassis where the floor pan will sit on, there's the overlap reinforcements on the top side as well. And then on there the floor will sit. And as I say, that keeps the centre bit free from any structure. So the structure that's holding the chassis together is on the outside, whereas the majority of the models that I build, the structure goes across and it's overlapped going across the way. But on this, it's going to be overlapped on the outside to keep the centre area clear for the driveline, the exhaust, etc. So that's the chassis press fitted to the floor pan. So as I say, it's overlapped there, and these are supporting the floors as well, the floor panels. And then you've got these cross members going across there. But that's actually just a support for like a plate for the flooring. There isn't actually a cross member there at the moment. I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with that. But in the interim, I'm going to get the drive line. I'm concentrating on that. And then I'll look at touching up the chassis, putting other supports in, final touches to the chassis and structure, the underframe basically. So it's going to be the length of the Enviro 400, but it's going to have the same sort of principle as the Elsa, with the engine in the overhang, whereas the majority of double-decker buses have the engines in the rear overhang, transversely mounted. But on the Elsa, the Volvo Elsa, in the real-life buses that is, the Volvo Elsa has the engine at the front, longitudinally. And it's going to be the same on this. The engine is going to be at the front, longitudinally, and also the transmission as well. There's a bit of a step down as well for the entrance. That'll be the entrance there. The engine will go into there, and the driver's cab will be up there. And part of the engine will go in this area under there. So it's going to be 3 wide. That's the top of the engine cover. There will be a removable cover that comes off from the front. That comes off, but I'm not going to do it on this video. It's just to keep the video, I don't want it too long. I've done all the demonstrations of that on my LEGO project series that I've done on my earlier videos on my channel regarding my LEGO builds. So now I've established the wheelbase. That's where the wheels are going to be positioned on the axle. They will be drop centre, meaning that area there will allow for the prop shaft to go along to meet the differential in the rear axle. The engine and transmission will fit over the front overhang in this space here, and it will be covered with an engine pod and a grille at the front, something similar to that of the Elsa, the Volvo Elsa. I put these there for extra reinforcement because of the difference in the chassis design, just to give it a bit more structure. Slight modification, I've just lowered it slightly. I've lowered the engine pod down a wee bit. So as a guide, the height of the windscreen, that's the lower edge of the windscreen. The height of the engine pod's fairly in line with that of the Elsa. The driver cab is a bit the same height. It's obviously slightly higher. Well, it is slightly higher in the passenger compartment and the platform. The platform's sunken by 1 flat. It's a wee step. So it's sort of a similar layout and dimensions for the engine pod. It's the same as the Elsa, the Volvo Elsa that I built. The top shelf. This is the top shelf quality one, by the way. It's built years ago, built to last. Built with quality in mind. This is like the other models that I built for the Bang Ovation. This is in mid-shelf, unregistered, but that's what it's going to be. That's top shelf. It's an Enviro 400, Alexander Dennis, Enviro 400 MMC. I've done a video on that. I didn't do a video on this when I built that because I built this before I even had a YouTube channel. So I built this, I think, in I've got the records of all of them anyway. 2016 summer, if I remember right. So it's 7.5 years old. And that's generation 2. because there was a model, Generation 1 top shelf model before that. This replaced it, with improvements of course, to represent it better for a Volvo Elucia. And it's one of the few times I have a colour code is for the seats. I use black seats for the interior. On the Volvo Elucia, Alexander RV type bodywork, which is my favourite type of bus of all buses. It's what I grew up with. I remember the buses from the 70s and the 80s. I've lived in Dundee all my life, and Dundee had a big fleet of them. Mark 1, Mark 1.5 and Mark 2 and Mark 3s. Anyway, let's get back to this. This is another top shelf quality model I've built. It's based on the Wright Gemini bodied Volvo B7 DL. And I'm just checking some of the rear overhang dimensions and a few other things, technical things, that I'm going to employ onto my other model. Just doing a wee bit of rough modelling just to get a rough profile of the rear. That's the Gemini, that's the Alexander Enviro, that's the Volvo Elucia. So just try to get the heights and the window spacing correct. I do want this engine, even though it's going to be a front engined vehicle, I want the engine, the bit at the back. Normally on a rear engine, you've got the on the rear engine vehicles, you've got this bit at the back where the engine is housed. Well, on this model, I want it kind of like a boiler system housed in there, but I don't want it to be going as far back as I would with an engine. I just want it going back a little bit, and I want like heater boilers in that area where the engine would be, but it doesn't extend in as much. I want it like that. I also want the profile to have the similar kind of, what they would have rounded corners on the Alexander Enviro, and the real life models have rounded corners. Well, I've tried to replicate that with having these angled bits coming down. It's not rounded, but it's as good as you can do with Lego. And I want this model to have it as well. So I'm just in the sort of design stages to get an idea as to what to build really, because it's built from scratch. So I don't really have a model like this. I've never built one like this before. So although this is going to be unregistered, and in two minds to build another one, which will be a mid-shelf registered one. In other words, it'll be getting kept for the long term. I still want this one built for the Destruction Derby later on this year. So it will be the unregistered mid-shelf quality one. But I could then maybe perhaps use this as a template to build a mid-shelf registered model. In other words, one to keep for quite a while, because some of the mid-shelf ones last a wee while as well, a few years. 6, 7 year old, some of them. So this is by no means how it's going to be. This is to say, just building this as a rough idea as to what to basically construct. So I was looking at the rear overhang. That's how I want the window profile to look. In the experimental stage at the moment, I'm just trying to get the rear profile correct. The rear bench seat at the back, the bottom deck will be there. The boilers will be under this position. So it's kind of like got a rear-engined look about it, but the engine will be at the front. And so will the transmission, so it's a very unique design. I've never built anything like this before. There isn't any model of bus out there in real life, to my knowledge, that has this concept. But when I drive the Enviro 400 MMCs, I think of this concept. I just think it looks quite smart. I quite like them. I've always been a fan of the Volvo Elucia, but I just like the idea of having an engine at the front with the transmission as well, and a prop shaft going to the rear diff, and having a kind of like a boiler system at the rear for some reason. I just want to try this out, this concept out. So I'll just get the positions correct for the windows and the seat spacing, the seat height and the window height, and the rear cover panel height. Just try and get the profile correct. Yeah, just another wee modification. I'm going to make it a little bit wider here, and it's going to be recessed in a bit. That'll be the boilers under there, and the rear seat will be there, and the window spacing is going to be similar to that of the Enviro 400 MMC with the rear engine. It's just going to be a wee bit wider here, so it's 1 dot further in for the engine, obviously being there at the rear. But on this, it's boiler, so it's 1 dot further back. So the bonnet comes off at the rear for the top shelf quality model, Enviro 400, to reveal the rear mounted transverse positioned engine and transmission. 7 litres, each of these cylinders actually represents 1 litre of cubic capacity. Although it's a cylinder, it's a 6-cylinder engine in real life. There's only 4 there, but there's another 3 further back on this cylinder head depiction, or cylinder head representative. So there's 7 of them altogether, which represents a litre in capacity of the engine size, a 7 litre engine. The Cummins diesel engine that's used in real life is a 6.7 litre. But if I remember correctly, I used actually 6 of those and 2 of the round flats. 2 of the round dot flats, to make like a third of the height of that, which is 6.6, 6.7 basically. I think I did that actually on that, or maybe I did actually use all 7, I can't remember. I'd have to look back at the video actually, because I went into that detail. The transmission is in there as well. And intercooler, radiator cooling pack, induction and air intake pack. But I'm not going to go into this because I made a video about this being built on another video. But basically the engine is there, and that's a cover for it, and the seats at the rear on the lower deck are moved further inwards, obviously because the cover's there. But on this model, which is unique, it's going to have a boiler system at the back instead of the engine. The engine will be at the front. The video is going to be long enough. I don't really want to add too much more time to it, but this is the rear engine of the Volvo B7TL. Now, what I used to represent it, engine, transmission, there's all the components underneath as well that are built in, because all my models have all the components built in: the engine, the transmission, fuel tanks, etc. I didn't make a video of this being built. I think I built this either before I did YouTube videos, or I think it was before. Yeah, it was just before I'd done YouTube. I think it was 2019 I bought that one. I only started doing YouTube in April 2020. So I didn't, if I did do videos and pictures, it would just be my own private ones. But I'd have to edit them if they were going to go online, because they were never suitable for online. As I say, that one was made for online. Project Series, episodes 1 to 7. Lego Project Series. So, just trying to think now. Well, I'm going to have to get back on with getting on with this design. Move this template off for now, and I'm going to start building this for real. This will be, the boilers will be going in there, the representative for the heaters, etc., the misters. And from this sort of, well, not moulding, but kind of like a template, we'll build the actual model from it. So I'm just getting the window spacing and the window pillars sorted out. So another unique design feature on this model is that access to the driver cab will be done via a step. So I'm not quite so sure about having a pillar and opening them. Yeah, probably will. Yeah, but the step entrance to the cab will be from this side, so the driver will enter and exit from inside the actual passenger saloon area. On the Volvo also, there's a separate door on the outside. That's what it's like in real life. The driver gets in from the offside, so there's a separate door for him to get in, because there's no really, the engine, is blocking the way in unless he climbs over the vandal screen. But on this one, I'm going to have an entrance to the cab. It's going to access it from a sort of, I'm going to incorporate that into this design. It will be tight, but I'm going to somehow try and manage it. It's going to be a unique design, so that does now affect how this is going to be. to a degree. I'll have to think round that, but I'll figure something just to depict an entrance, exit entrance from the inside of the bus. So the outside will just be like that of the rear engine buses. So they could specify a door on the offside, but the Volvo Elsa in real life, the real life model, there was a door specified on the outside. But for the rear engined buses, there wasn't really any necessity for that. So the driver entered and exited the cab from inside the bus, go in through the passenger door and enter and exit from this side. So yeah, I'm going to continue that theme on this model as well. So it's going to be like a rear engine bus in a way, because it's got this here, it's got boilers here with this protrusion, and it's going to have the driver coming in and out from inside the vehicle, just like that of a rear engined bus model. But it's going to have the engine at the front and the transmission. Now I wanted to do that because I wanted to build something different. I wanted to try out a different concept. I like the idea of having that like that, a nice compact engine and transmission in the front overhang. I kind of like the principle of that. I just like it, and I think that when I drive the actual real life Enviro 400 MMC models, I just imagine that if it had an engine at the front like that of the Volvo Elsa, but of course it would include the transmission as well. I've got a kind of step system. I've layered this, I've removed the actual cover and I've altered it slightly so that it keeps the gangway, the entrance and the gangway fairly wide for a wheelchair. Now that's ambitious to have a wheelchair on a front engine double decker, but to have a wheelchair enough space for it. But that's a challenge. That's why the rear engine buses have, that's where the engines are at the rear, and they're favoured for low floor because all this area is low and there's plenty of room because the engine's tucked away at the back. But this model will present some challenges because the engine's going to be here and it's got to accommodate for wheelchairs and prams and buggies. So this has to be tucked in a little bit. Unlike the Elsa that comes out to the full width like what I had before here. And the driver, to get into the cab, will access it from the door will open and he'll step through there and into the cabin area. That's the idea. And I've been using these models as a reference. This is on the Enviro 400 with the engine at the rear. And the driver would obviously easily access into his cab from here. And the wheelchairs and prams would get in and access the inside of the bus fairly easily. So but on this model, it's going to be the driver will also access his cab from inside, and I've still got to have a means of getting the wheelchairs and prams to get in. This depicts a kind of like a low floor ramp kind of idea. So, for a low floor bus. The modification with the staircase, I just had to put this bay window in to represent this one on this model. Staircase is this wood. It's going to be the same on here. For now, I think that's going to do. It's 2:20 in the morning. I spent a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours on this. I don't really have, I'm just going to go to bed tired. And off tomorrow. I might do a wee bit more work on it tomorrow. But I've got this far anyway in the design process. Still an awful lot to go. An awful lot of work to go. But being a mid-shelf and an unregistered mid-shelf. The mid-shelf and unregistered mid-shelves are both of the same quality. It's just that the unregistered ones aren't really built for any long term. I think the more I think about it, I'm going to build another one of this model. I'll see how well this actually takes off, how it looks when it's complete. And if I like it, the concept, I'll build a mid-shelf registered one. And if I really like it, then I'll go and build a top shelf quality one, which top shelf ones take ages to build. Because I build them with quality. They're solid. There's no any flexion in the model. It's all built with all the Legos overlapping the parts to make it properly solid. The mid-shelf ones are just built, they're just thrown up. Not a lot of, they're more for cosmetic They look good, but the quality isn't there. So when you pick up a mid-shelf quality model, like the flatbed lorry, that tends to flex a bit more because the quality hasn't been built in. They're still scaled and they're still weight synchronised, but the quality's just not the same as top shelf. So that'll do for tonight. So the build start date for this is 3rd of January 2024. Although technically it's because it's after midnight. It's actually the 4th of January 2024. That's the start build date. So I'm kind of logging it in for my own records as well, and I could share it with you. So it gives you an idea just how long it takes and how much time I put in them per session, I suppose. Lego building session. I just do a wee bit at a time. So that'll do for now. Do for today anyway. I might do a bit more tomorrow, as I say. And by the way, before I log off for the day, or the night, or the morning, or whatever you want to call it, the early hours of the morning, before I log off for this session of Lego building, I'm going to name this model. I'm going to give it a name of my own. I'm going to call it an Octavia. A Skoda Octavia double-decker bus. Well, I must say Skoda out, but I'm just going to call it an Octavia. Now that does have something in common with the name Elsa. Elsa, by the way, is named after Elsa Craig, the Volvo Elsa. It's a rock off of the west coast of Scotland, known as, or called Elsa Craig. So the truck and bus factory was in Irvine in Scotland, which wasn't far, from that far from Elsa Craig. You could see it from the coast. So they named the trucks and the lorries Elsa. That was Elsa trucks and then Elsa buses. But Elsa is also a female name, and so is Octavia. So I'm going to call my double-decker bus, although it shares a similar concept to the Elsa by having the engine at the front, it's going to be called Octavia. Now, the Octavia and the car model is owned by the Skoda brand, which is part of the Volkswagen Audi group. So, obviously the buses aren't made by Volkswagen Audi group or anything like that. Not to my knowledge is there any bus called Octavia. So I'm going to, because it's a female name as well, and the Elsa is also a female name, and this having the engine at the front, but different, it's not going to be called an Elsa because it's going to have a transmission at the front as well. The Elsas don't have boiler systems at the back. The seats are just at the extreme back. But on this, it's going to have a boiler system for the heating, etc. So that's a different concept. And also, the Volvo Elsa has the driver door on the outside, on the off side. Whereas on Octavia, it's going to have it on the inside like that of the rear-engined buses. And also, there's a Volvo BTNM city bus that has the engine in the centre. That's what the M stands for. Volvo scoring. Volvo, B for bus, 10 for 10 litre, or M for mid-mounted engine. So that's a different model altogether. But this is going to have the engine at the front and the entrance to the driver cab from inside, which is unique to any bus. Certainly most of them anyway in Europe. There is one model of bus that I have been on at Northampton Bus Museum. It's called the Leyland Victor, and the engine is at the front as well, but it doesn't look that great, to be honest. But it doesn't have the same quality as as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't look as good as a Volvo Elsa. I don't think the quality is as good neither, in my opinion. But anyway, that's the Volvo Elsa. That's the Alexander Denison Viral 400 MMC. This will be named Octavia. So I thought I would just make that known, because I've never named a model of bus Octavia. I own a Skoda Octavia car, but that's the car I own. But I've never named, there's no bus named Octavia to my knowledge. So I'm going to build my model Lego and name it Octavia. That's what the model's going to be called. The manufacturer will just be called my make-up name for the Lego building. It'll be the alcove vehicle builder constructions, as I've explained on my other Lego videos, because I build my models in the alcove. I've even made a wee symbol. It looks like the alcove with the shelves and everything in it. I've got it somewhere. If you look back on the previous Lego video, I did mention a little bit on that. This is a register of the, ironically, this is an unregistered mid-shelf. It's actually a register of the unregistered mid-shelf production models. And that's the alcove. I've got 3 registers. I've got the mid-shelf ones, and I've got the top shelf quality ones, and I've got what I call the unregistered ones. Basically a temporary one. I've built about 100 models. I've got about 100. Over the years I've been building, I've built hundreds of models in a year. I currently have probably about 100. They're not all here. Some of them are up the stairs. But yeah, I've got a few up here. I've got a few down here. But I went through all this demonstration on my Lego project series. So anyway, this is going to be called the Octavia. That's the model. And now that I mentioned the Volvo B10M City Bus, there's a single decker version as well. I've got that in the other room, but I'm not going to dig that out just now. That's where the engine's positioned. The engine and transmission is positioned in the centre, and it runs into the rear back axle from there. And the driver can, they can specify a setup where the driver can get in from the inside. However, the Tayside buses that Dundee had, although the driver could get in, should they specify that. Tayside didn't actually specify that. They specified the old door on the outside because they had no choice with the Volvo Elsie. But they continued that. They had the driver door on the front offside for the Volvo B10M City buses for the Dundee Tayside bus fleet. But they could have specified it in the inside. Some operators did. And by the way, the bodywork for the Volvo B10M City bus that Tayside had was actually built with Walter Alexander. That was before they merged with Alexander Dennis. And just briefly, that's the single deck version of the Volvo B10M Alexander PS type bodywork. And that's mid-shelf. Said I've got lots of other models, but I won't go through all them just now. And also the Alexander body, the Tayside Volvo Elses, they had Alexander or Walter Alexander RV type bodyworks. They also had Alexander AV type bodyworks as well. But much later on, they had Alexander merged with Dennis. But they did merge with a few other things before they eventually became known as Alexander Dennis. That's what they build today. And they build their integral model, which means it's bodywork and chassis. And the product's the Enviro 400 MMC. The bodywork can be put on other chassis as well. But they'll have their own model, chassis and body, known as an individual, and that's Volvo. That's Alexander Dennis, or ADL for short, Alexander Dennis Limited. ADL Enviro 400 MMC. There was actually an Enviro 400, and then they improved the model and called it the 400 MMC. Major model change is what the MMC stands for, I believe. Major model change. And by the way, I think I mentioned already, the Ailsa Craig is an island, a rock island, just off the west coast of Scotland. Ailsa Craig. It's a big, well, it's not that big, but it's a rock island anyway. And you can see it from the mainland Scotland. It's Friday. It was a couple of days ago, Wednesday I think it was, when I last done work on this. So I'm just picking up from where I left off. I'm just going to do a little bit more construction of this Octavia double decker. I'm just doing a wee bit of work on the staircase, getting the staircase representative in there. So I'm going to need to have like interdecking, which is like an interior roof panelling, where the ballast will go, i.e. the coins. You'll know all these terms if you've watched the previous Lego videos when I refer to ballast and ballast tanks and weight synchronisations and all the rest of it. I'm not going to explain on this one, I'll just make the video too long. I further you go to the LEGO project series and previous LEGO videos and then go into a bit more detail regarding that. I can't really do that in every video that I do with LEGO because it will just make it too long. So I just use these terms, weight ballast, ballast tanks, interdecking, all the rest of it. But you'll get an idea what I mean if you watch previous, or if you've already watched previous videos, you'll know what I mean. So I've actually started on the upper deck and upper deck roof pillars and window apertures. Now there's a couple of cross members going to be going across. If this was a top shelf model, they would be going across on all the pillars, like on the one next to it, which has been used as a template. That's a top shelf model one there. That was built in the LEGO project series. You'll see that in the video, my YouTube series, LEGO project series videos. This being a mid shelf doesn't need to be as higher quality. So I've used two cross structures, and to get the roof profile at the right height, there is a couple missing there, I'll add them in a minute. That's some added. So to get the roof profile at the right height as the other one, I've had to lower the ones that's going to have the cross members going across the width of the bus. I've lowered the flats, so the flats aren't there on that, so that gets the height flush with the rest of them. And then when I come up with the roof panels on, it will be the same height as the other one that I'm using as a template. So I've just got the rough sort of profile of it at the moment. Walk off soon, it's just a quick session. I might do a wee bit later on tonight at LEGO building, but I'm going to be out just now. I'll get back if I feel up to it, I might do a little bit more. But I've got the cross beam and then interlacing it in with, there'll be LEGO going right across, the flats will go right across on each side. They will double up as the light representatives, upper deck light representatives, and it will also lock these cross members in. I've got the roof interior panels, which acts as the roof stiffener as well, to stop it from flexing too much when it's built because of the length of it. And it will sit on like such. The pillars that go across are interlaced in there. But that'll have to do for now. The interdecking for the lower deck roof will go in there, and that's where the coins ballast will go to get the weight right, because obviously the lower chassis is to be kept empty, or kept clear for the driveline representative components, so I can't put the ballast tank in the usual wheelbase. So that'll have to go in the interdecking solely. But it's going to be a weight of 9.5 tonne. Or 9.5 tonne. It's going to be lighter than the other one, but what's the weight I want to have this. And 117 grams equals a metric tonne in my weight scale synchronisation. The other bus there with the rear engine, that the top shelf quality one next to it, this one, weighs 10.7 tonnes. So it's 10.7 times 117 grams gives you the actual model weight. And LEGO, with not having enough density to give you the right weights, have got to add ballast to it to get the weight correct. So that's going to do for now. I'll do a wee bit more later on perhaps, or tomorrow, but I think I'll maybe do a bit more later tonight, but I've got to go just now. Right, so I've came back from the cinema. It's just gone on 20 to 11. I'm working tomorrow, but late shift, so I could sit up late. But I'm going to be watching some videos later on, so I'll perhaps get maybe an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes worth of LEGO building with this model. So I'll just continue on from where I left off. My next task is to do some more work on the lower deck roof with the interdecking. So it's going to be like an interior panel with the coins and ballast logo. Then I'll continue on with the upper deck interior roof, interior panels, which will stiffen the roof, and we'll get some light representatives in there as well. Got the interdecking ballast chambers. These are hollow, so I'll put the coins in there for the ballast. There's some hollows in there as well. And if it doesn't fill with coins, it will do for the aesthetics. That'll go across like such. This is the main centrepiece, which will go in about in that space. It's hard to fill them and build at the same time, but the bits at the end there where they're sticking up, that's to secure it to the inside of the upper deck floor, for the gap between there's the ballast. And then you've got the rear one as well. I got that the wrong way around because I'm filming and not actually building at the moment, just trying to demonstrate where it is, where things are going. Try and record it for my records as well, but it's going to go in like roughly like that anyway. It's hard to show and film at the same time, but that does go down, and I've had to leave the spaces for the cross members that's going to cross there. It's a bit difficult to explain, but basically it's the inside roof panels of the lower deck, and then in the gap between there is the interdeck and ballast chambers, which is where the coins will go to set the weight for the overall vehicle, unladed or curb weight if you like. So there's the blocks there for the other end of this panel to go on the inside, so it'll connect up to that. Two things on the temporary fit at the moment. It's just put on temporarily. Obviously you're going to have to open them up when it comes to the ballasting. Now it's really, I can't build and do the same and show this at the same time unless I've got a camera stand, but I haven't rigged that up for any of the videos lately. I have done on some of the really earlier ones when I was building the Alexander AV type bodywork Volvo Ilsa Mark 1. I actually rigged the camera up and I was able to build and film it at the same time. But see, it's not, I can't really see, that's a problem because I haven't really press fitted it and just try to demonstrate where things go on the camera for you, and then you're going to have to put the camera down and sort of press fit it properly. But that's kind of like how it's going to go on. It's really difficult at this moment because I'm filming with one hand and try to do this with the other. But you can see the inner panels, how they form on the inside of the lower deck roof, and the cross members that go across are sandwiched under there, and they go across and they meet up with the runner, the connectors there, these angle connectors. They meet up, and that gives the support to the support for the whole interdecking assembly. That's the upper deck floor stroke lower deck roof. So it's double skinned basically, as you can understand. That's where the coins will go in this space, because on the other models, not on the Ilsa by the way, in fact the Ilsa is what set the weight, but that's a long story, I'm not going to go into it. There's no ballast in there, but that was like the one I built first. Although this is generation 2, the generation 1 was the one I built first years ago. Generation 2 was the same. It was obviously improved, but it didn't require any ballast, and I set the weight for all the rest of the models to follow. So that's where I got the 117 grams equals metric ton, because the real life bus that I've based that model off of weighs 9,762 kilograms. So I'm not going to explain it all because I've got a habit of making the videos too long by going into other things. I'm just going to focus in on this. You can look back on the other videos where I go into more in-depth explanations regarding all that. But in a nutshell anyway, that's the ballast. These bits will be sealed when they meet the runners, because there's runners going across. The coins won't come out because that'll be there to plug that. That runner there will go across there, and I'll plug that gap, and it's held up there, and there with these angle brackets. That supports the longitude. The cross gives it the width ways, rigidity if you like, so it strengthens it by having cross members rather than just solely use pillars, because it would not be so strong widthways. So I put the cross members going across to try and give it a bit of like webbing, structural strength if you like. And that other chamber there for the chamber between the two decks is sealed with the staircase bulkhead, which is that panel there basically. So that then goes through there and it will indeed seal the coins in, seal up the what I call the ballast tank. Modification, I just shortened this pillar, panel there to allow for this angled bracket to allow clearance for it, because it was hitting off of there when it was the full length one, the 8 dot one. So I've made it a 7 dot. Effectively made it a 7 dot. Although it's 6 dot, I've just advanced it. I've just moved it forward a dot, and I'll just leave that there as it is. I'm not going to bother about that. So you won't see it anyway. You definitely won't see that. And this being mid shelf and in shelved and registered at that, it's not really important. If it were a top shelf model like these two, then everything like that, attention to detail, would definitely count. But because this is just a mid shelf and a mid shelf unregistered, it doesn't matter too much. As I say, you won't see it, you won't notice it. It's got to allow that there's nothing on that side anyway, so that'll just be not flush with the rest of it, but I'm not bothered about that. I just had to have that clear because I've got this angle bracket there for support for the bulkhead, as well as a little bit of additional support as well for the interdecking. These support the runners that go across. The runners that go across there, these ones actually support. This is just an additional one on its own, but it doesn't have a runner going across it, because this will actually act as a bit of a support as well. The bulkhead, which meets up to this bit here, and at the same time seals in the ballast tank. It fills in that gap. That'll go across 4 there, 4 there, and that'll fill that up and support the interdecking. Assist in supporting the interdecking, assist in supporting it, because there's all the other bits that's going to support it as well. Well, that'll do for today. I've put the top deck roof on as well. The interdecking is in there. There's no coins in it, obviously. There's still a lot of work to go, but I've done what I can for today anyway. I've got the rough profile of the bus. The back seat, the lower back seat's still in there. That'll come out at some point. There's a wee bit of body flexion there, so we'll maybe put some stiffeners in there to try and prevent that from flexion. But once the panel's not going, that'll help as well. But there is definitely a bit of flexion because there's not much support at this end at the moment. It's just still in the early stages of the build, but I will put in more supports later on as the build goes on. But I'm going to just call it a day of that. I'll call it a session, a Lego building session. I'll call it a Lego building session at that. I've done a fair bit considering I've only just started it yesterday. But the mid-shelf quality models I could build in I could build them a lot faster than I can these. The top shelf ones take a long time. I could take over a period of weeks to build it, doing it the way I do, doing a wee bit at a time. I could accumulate up to about 24 hours worth of work. I did log one in. I've logged a few in actually. There were several hours to build. The mid-shelf ones and the mid-shelf unregistered ones are much quicker because the quality isn't really there. It's more for the aesthetics. It looks interesting and it's so much easier to build, but the quality isn't quite there. When I mean quality, it's not solidly put together like these. All the bits are all overlapping correctly. There's no loose bits. It's all solid. It doesn't flex when you move them. And I've got quite a few top shelf. I've got 3 registers. But anyway, I'm not going to go into this. I've got 3 registers for each of them: top shelf, mid shelf, and unregistered mid shelf. Ironically, but there is a register for the unregistered mid shelf models. But I won't go into all that detail because it just lengthens the video too much. So anyway, there's the engine transmission compartment area. That's where that will be getting housed. There's a clear run right through the chassis to the rear axle for the drive line. As I say, the interdeck floor, the interdecking, that's where the coins ballast will be going in, and that space there. And there's all the seats and everything, and the interior panels, etc. Then you've got the lower panels still to go. I haven't got that done yet. So I think that'll do for just now. That'll do for just now. So it's about, what, 5 to midnight, so that'll do it. Right, so it's the Saturday afternoon. Just done a few minutes work before I go away and start my shift. I put a lower panel on for the wheelbase. I've got some of the rear overhang panels, the lower rear overhang panels sorted out. I've got the other side. I've still got the front overhang lower panels to do. I also modified the windscreen, the driver windscreen. I lowered it. I lowered the windscreen so it's more in line with this one, with the engine at the rear. It's got the engine at the back, the top shelf one. So I wanted the windscreen to be lower. On the Volvo Elsa it's actually higher up. The Volvo Elsa was designed in the 1970s. And the Enviro 400, Alexander Dennis Enviro 400 was something, 2016. The MMC one came out, I think, round about there. The 400 came out, the Enviro 400 was his predecessor. That came out round about, I don't know, 2005 or something. You'll have to research on that. It was earlier on anyway. And then the Enviro 400 MMC came out about possibly, 2015, 2016, something like that. So the Elsa was the 1970s model. Well, my double-decker Octavia is going to have a lot of the features of the rear-engined Enviro 400 MMC, but it will have the engine at the front overhang like that of the 1970s Volvo Elsa design. So the Elsa, that's my Lego Volvo Elsa. The windscreen is at this height, which is a wee bit higher. It's what this one is originally. So I took this bottom panel out, if you like, the bottom windowsill for the windscreen, and I put this flat, 10 by 1 flat, and that lowers it. It makes the windscreen a little bit deeper, more in contrast with this. So as far as the rear end, the back of the buses are concerned, I've got a very similar profile. This is the one with the engine at the back, top shelf model. This is my Octavia one. It's going to have the boiler system at the back. I've got the profiles of the lights and destination blind, similar to that. Only this isn't an engine cover, that's just a solid panel. I mean, I could maybe have like vents and stuff, for the boilers, and maybe an access panel, things like that. But this is like the major engine bonnet, if you like, because the engine's in the rear on that. This is the Volvo Elsa rear, and the seats go to the extreme. The lower deck seat, rear seat, it goes to the right, to the back, right to the rear extreme of the vehicle. So it's right here up against, near enough the window. Whereas on mine it is set further in towards the bus, because there is this boiler system, as I call it, or if I designed it, I'm going to design a boiler system in there. But it doesn't go as far in, it doesn't intrude into the passenger saloon as much as the engine does. That's 6 dots along there, 5 dots this bit here, that's the radiator grille. This is only this thing, got to do my maths right here. Oh yeah, I know what's happened, yeah. It is the same width here on this side because the passenger door is set further in, that's right. It's on this one here, you can evidently see that it isn't as, that the rear bit doesn't intrude into the saloon as much. So that's only 5 dots to this point. Actually, it's 4 dots to there, 5 with this angle, but if you include that. Whereas on the engine at the rear, it is in fact the 5 dots, 6 dots if you include the angle bit, and 5 dots wide, whereas this is only 4 dots wide and 5 dots if you include the angle bit. So it doesn't protrude inwards, this boiler system setup, as it does the engine on the rear end, because the engine does take up more room. It will take up more room in the boiler system that I'm going to add to this model. So that's it for now. I'm going to have to go to my work. I might do a wee bit more later tonight, depends, we'll see how I feel. Alright, it's been a wee while, probably about 2 weeks or a week and a half since I've done anything on this. I've just been that busy with other things. So I'm just gonna, I don't know where I left off. I might do a wee bit of work on the maybe on the engine and transmission setup at the front. I've done the staircase, just to recall where I left off, because I've been that busy. I haven't been on this for a while, so. I've done the lower deck roof interdecking, I've done that. Yeah, I might do a wee bit of the drive line and suspension work. It's 10 to midnight, so I'm just going to do a wee bit. So, I've done quite a lot actually. You won't see it evidently clear at this point until I show you exactly what I've done. So first of all, I've sealed off the engine pod, engine cover, and that'll be the step for the driver to get into the cab. I've put in the drive line, front suspension and exhaust, prop shaft as well. So as it is, I've got the engine at the front, the transmission which goes under the front axle, I've got the main prop drive shaft, prop shaft, drive shaft, the centre bearing, and it goes into the rear diff of the rear axle representative. I've got the axle suspension and stabilisers, the front axle suspension and stabilisers. I've got the exhaust system that runs all the way through from the engine, sort of like a silencer representative. This represents the exhaust and it goes out. Next up to this, which will be the tailpipe representative. And what we'll do now is I'll take the things off and I'll show you them and how it goes together. It's just a preliminary design at the moment. I've still got fuel tanks, batteries and other things, auxiliary components, but I've got the major driveline components in, and I've got the engine mountings as well. An engine mounting there, engine mounting there, one there as well. That's the sump representative for the engine. The transmission, I might actually have to, I think what I'm going to do actually is build in some sort of transmission mounting as well, rear mounting. I'm going to do that now before I take it all apart and show you how it all goes together. So I've added a rear engine mount, or transmission mount, engine stroke transmission mount. It's the rear one. It's difficult to just because I'm holding the camera as well, but it kind of goes into there, and there's the output, transmission output interface, where the prop shaft will come out and it'll run to the centre bearing representative, which is fixed to the chassis cross member. All the components are fixed to the chassis cross member. There's nothing fixed to the floor and representatives. There's nothing fixed to the floor. It's all fixed to the chassis members. That's the rear diff member. Prop shaft goes in there and into the rear differential gearbox. So as I say, there's still fuel tanks and batteries to be added, and there's a front panelling. So what now I'll do is I'll take it apart in assembled stages and just demonstrate how it all goes together to show you and to remind me as well from my own records also. I'll just show you in stages. Front axle assembly and suspension. That's the representative which goes over, fits over the components like such. There's a closer view of the rear engine stroke transmission mount. So I shall remove that just now, put that up there. Then I'll remove the front cooling pack representative. And I'll set that up there all the way just now. I'll then disconnect the exhaust, or part of the exhaust, that's the middle, or one of the middle sections which reveals the downpipe. And the rest of the tail section representative is still there, that's that yellow bit, as I'll show later on. I'll just put that up there for now, and I'll remove the engine. That's where the prop shaft meets the output of the transmission interface there. That runs into the centre bearing, so I'll disconnect this bit of the prop shaft. That's the prop shaft removed, the centre bearing, first half, centre bearing which fits onto this cross member. That's the input to the rear differential for the rear axle representative. I'll now remove the engine and transmission assembly. That's one bracket where it meets up with the chassis leg. That's the other bracket there. On the other side, I've removed it already, just goes in filming. But the other side, there's a 3 flat, that there, which goes on this chassis leg. It's upside down though. We'll be seeing that there meets up with that bit of the chassis, which locks it in. With the engine transmission out, that's the tail bit of the exhaust pipe. Transmission representative, that's where the prop shaft goes in. The underside of the transmission, that's the engine sump, that's auxiliary components to the engine. I was going to actually still add a turbo to this, but in fact I'm going to do that now. I'm going to make that a wee bit bigger, so I'm going to do this now. Pause this for a moment. So I've added like a turbocharger representative there. I've just temporarily fitted the engine just to see that there's enough clearance. There is. So what I've done is I've added this top sort of bit here to represent some sort of a turbocharger. As I've mentioned before in my other LEGO videos, each of these cylinders represents a litre in capacity. This is a 7 litre engine, so there's 7 of them. But these also represent other things as well. But when it's on the engine, that's how I use them. And this is like the cylinder head, this angle bit. The cylinder block is a shallower slide block, and these will just have to double up for the block as well, as with that flat. And the sump, which is this angled block there, that's the sump representative. And there's other auxiliary components added on there as well, just to make it look sort of interesting. Some kind of heat thing as well, maybe. You could double that up as anything, heat exchanger, ECU unit maybe. There's something else there tucked in there. It could represent another auxiliary component on the engine. Transmission is there, that's the transmission representative. So that's the engine part, so I'll just put that up there for now. So the rest of the exhaust system, which goes through, or goes below the axle, the rear axle assembly, which I'll show you in a minute. So that's the rear axle assembly with the suspension and the differential representatives. The prop shaft goes in through the input to the rear differential, and this is like there's a kind of rear back cover, this bit here. A suspension airbag system, stabilisers, that comes off of the framework, the chassis here. This is the remaining part of the exhaust system, which I'll take off. That's the remaining rear bit of the exhaust, and that's the tail bit. It does on the real rear of the real Enviro 400 MMC. The tailpipe is kind of squared off at the rear. Like I say, I'm basing this Octavia decker on the real Enviro 400 MMC Alexander Dennis, which has the square bit sort of tail, what's it? I like the very end bit of the tailpipe. It's kind of squared off at a rectangular rather than the conventional round pipe. It's like a sort of bit that's added on just to give it that kind of more of a flusher look. Well, anyway, this is the representative for the exhaust system, which will basically, that bit there will connect on, which connects to this bit here of the engine, which could be, although it's connected to the transmission, you just got to imagine somehow that it fits in and meets the engine. That's how it is with my Lego. There's only so much that I can do with it, so that will just have to do. And that's the framework, the basic framework. So now that I've shown all the components, I will now put them all back together again in situ, now that it's been shown. And the engine will fit into there. I had to make sure all the clearances were right so that the engine would fit. I had to design the engine round the actual model engine stroke transmission, or the power unit if you like, and it's just going to be a 7 litre, based on the 7 litre. Like I said, before I put the driveline back in, the floor pan, or floor assembly, is the actual floor. These here are the chassis runners, and that's what supports the driveline. There's no driveline that meets any of the floor pan. It's all connected to the chassis components. The chassis components obviously fit to the floor pan, they connect up, the runners connect up, and these are actually connected on the outside rather than a solid beam going across. That's the cross members there, and this allows for the open cavity, or the open space for the driveline exhaust system as well. I've designed it so that the centre diff assembly, the centre differential gearbox on the rear axle, the centre bit, that assembly bit comes out. I had to actually design it that way because it just leaves the level of the overall height of the vehicle right. If I put another layer across there, another flat, it would increase that by a flat, and I don't want the vehicle any more height added to it. So that just basically meets the chassis rather than putting another member across here. The actual axles will act as a cross member as well. So that centre section fits into the axle, and prop shaft meets into there. So I'm going to put it back together. But first I'll put the exhaust in. It does come in sections, and I'll put the axle over it anyway, but for assembly it'll be easier putting the whole exhaust bit in, then putting the axle in over it. The exhaust system has got the connector bits, the mounting points, which meet up to the chassis cross members. I can't really film it at the same time as building, so I've just got to build it on and show you once I've built it on. Right, so I've added the rear section of the exhaust system. It's added on to the chassis. I've reassembled the differential gearbox back onto the rear axle, and then I'm going to put the rear axle onto the chassis back into the vehicle. Now I'm going to add the engine transmission power unit onto the front of the vehicle, the chassis. That's a mounting point there. Engine mounting point there. I'll put the rear transmission mount on later on, but I've put the power unit in. So now I'll connect up the prop shafts via the centre bearing representative. Like before, the centre bearing fits onto the cross member there of the chassis. That's the prop shaft added. The full length prop shaft. First half of the engine, of the rear of the transmission power unit, into the centre bearing, and then from there they've got the second half of the prop shaft into the rear differential gearbox representative on the rear drive axle. Next thing I'm going to do is add the rear transmission mount to the transmission and connect it up to the chassis. So that's it connected up. So the power unit, that means the engine and transmission, is fully connected up via their brackets. That's the rear one. That's the first half of this part, and you've got the other bit, then you've got the three along there. It's difficult to show, but now I'm going to connect up the exhaust. So that's the exhaust connected up to the engine, or power unit. Goes there, connects up to this yellow representative, which goes through the under bit of the axle because I've left space for that. And then out along here, and then it connects up to the tail section. So it's a very long exhaust pipe because it's running the full length of the bus. So the next thing now is I'm going to fit the front axle assembly. That's the front axle assembly on. Now I'll just put the cooling pack back on. So that's the cooling pack manoeuvred on over the chassis leg, and that then just gets connected up with this top bracket there. And that's as far as I've got with the power unit. There's still a fuel tank representative, battery representative, air tank representatives, and a few other auxiliary component representatives still to go on the chassis regarding the driveline components. But that's the major driveline components on the chassis. So that's where I'm basically going to just leave it for this Lego building session. And it took me quite a while to design that, to get everything to fit around each other. But there's all the front cowling and front panelling to go on. There'll be a panel that comes off to reveal the engine from this side as well. So it took a wee while. You can see the tailpipe representative underneath there, and that will that's where it is. It's on the rear offside on the real Alexander Dennis Enviro 400 MMC bus. That's which that one's top shelf quality model is based on. With this being a mid-shelf, I might even just keep this a registered mid-shelf rather than an unregistered mid-shelf, because I'm quite interested in this design. So I don't think I'll be putting this one in the demolition derby. I'll build another decker of a more conventional design with the mid-shelf unregistered quality. Because I think I'm going to hold on to this one for a bit. I don't think I'm going to destroy this one so soon in the destruction derby. I kind of like the concept of this. I'm going to relish this one for a wee while. Because I kind of came up with the concept myself. Like I've explained earlier. Engine transmission at the front. Driver right inside the cabin via this sort of cutaway step area as well. And a slight step there on the platform. You might just make that out. There's a flat level. It's lowered by one flat level. Boiler system, cooling pack boiler system at the rear, which uses engine coolant as a kind of boiler system for the heating for the bus, and it could also run pipes in towards the front for the demisters. But that's my invention, to have a boiler system where the engine would be for a rear mounted engine vehicle for a double decker. So that's it for this session. And I'm not going to do any more because it's 12 minutes to 3 in the morning, so that's plenty for this one. This is just engine auxiliaries, by the way. This big bits, as you would have seen, so it all fits in there. And there's room between the axles, and the drop centre front axle allows the clearance for the prop shaft and exhaust system as well. So that'll do, as I say, for this section, or this Lego building session. Okay, so it's 20 to 4 in the afternoon. I'm going to do a little bit more work on the Octavia double decker. I actually removed the rear seat downstairs, and I put this bulkhead here to seal off the boiler compartment at the back. So I'm going to probably remove these cross strappings, and I'm going to put longitudinal seat runner rails going across the floor base, or the floor pan, and that will secure the, it'll overlap the plates and give it rigidity, and it will also support the seats on the wall side of the bus. And the aisle side of one bracket at the back, which will connect to the floor pan, and at the front of the seat that will float. So it'll be a floating bracket to give it a seat effect. That'll be the seat representative. Similar plan upstairs as well. Also, I will get the window apertures all adjusted up so they're equal on both decks. I've just synchronised the windows. I've got them all balanced out. It's basically 2 dots 2 block dots and 2 flat dots. Sorry, 2 dot blocks deep with 2 flat dots. So it's basically 3 dots, 3 block dots minus 1 flat is the height of the lower deck windows and the upper deck windows. So they're balanced in the depth, and they're also obviously all lined up pillar wise as well. On the lower panel profiling, it's got the Octavia double decker, it's got to match with my Enviro 400 MMC. So I've got this measuring device just to get the dimensions, and using the top, this is the top shelf quality model, and using that as a template for my mid shelf quality model. I was considering making it an unregistered mid shelf, i.e. it would be going into the Lego bangers, but because it's a new concept and an interesting one, there isn't a bus out there like that, I think I might keep a hold of it. Therefore I will register it as a registered mid-shelf quality, and the unregistered mid-shelf quality ones are the ones that are just built for the destruction derbies. I'll hold on to it for a few months and then I'll destroy them and make way for other. So when the Lego's dismantled, obviously after the destruction derbies, it allows Lego for other building. But for the registered ones, which I'll keep for a while, I've got lots of registered mid-shelves, and the top quality ones are automatically registered because they're built to last. Like I said in my earlier videos, the oldest one I've got is actually about 15-year-old. I think thereabouts, 16-year-old even. It's going back quite a bit. So I've built models for quite a long time. I've got probably over 100 of them. I've built hundreds, and I've probably got over 100. I've got lists, fleet lists for all the models that I've got. They're all dated, it's got the weight, and it's got the design and the model name that I've given it, the date built and everything. So I've got a register for them all. Right, so I'm going to continue on with the lower panelling. That was theirs, just put as a marker to get the number of blocks and flats for the depth for the panelling, to get the similar profile to the top shelf quality Enviro 400 MMC, which has got a rear mounted engine, by the way. This one's going to have the front mounted engine. I haven't mentioned in this video, but I have on previous Lego videos regarding the model building qualities. The top shelf quality models that I build, they're basically built like this, and then I take them all up and I take it apart in sub-assemblies, check them all, make sure everything's all pressure fitted, you know, everything's squeezed on tight, so everything's fitting properly. Then I reassemble it for a final assembly to give it the quality finish. With the mid-shelf quality models, I do not need to do that. I just build it as I go. Sometimes I've got to open it up again in order to get this, well, I'm obviously going to have to open this up again to get seats and ballast and everything put in. So that saves a lot of time, you see. That's why the mid-shelf quality ones are much quicker to build than the top shelf quality. The top shelf quality being a much better quality. I'm just doing a bit of work on the rear the rear overhang lower panels. It's the lights, registration representative, lights again. It's got the taper as well at the rear so that it doesn't ground. You know, the rear end isn't ground when the bus is going up, turning up a bray. The rear end will be prone for grounding if it weren't for the taper. As you can see, that's why they're tapered up slightly at the back to allow for ground clearance. Otherwise, if it was just level right across, it would just scrape right across the ground. Well, but in real life, if it were a real bus on the real models, when they're turning up a bray, so if it's on a level road and it's designed, then it's got to turn up a bray, the rear end will catch the ground, it'll catch the road, if it weren't for these tapers. The front overhangs are prone for grounding at times. There is a slight taper, less of a taper, but a slight taper nonetheless. But on the passenger side there isn't really much of a taper, and the corners are prone for getting grounded on the real buses. They have actually got a skid pan plate under there for this reason, because they're so prone for that. But unfortunately there's not much you can do about that. Just got to try and avoid. There is ferry lifts on the single deckers where you can lift up the suspension to give it a bit more clearance. I do that because I know the roads in Dundee, the ones where they will ground and where they don't. I know the buses to which ones to put the ferry lift up on and which ones don't require it. The overhangs on a decker are usually a little bit shorter, especially on the rear. compared to the single decker counterpart. And I've got buses up there. It's not going to go into all this because I've explained a lot of my other videos, my other Lego videos. I'll just make this video too long otherwise. So if you're interested, have a look at my Lego project series and my other previous Lego videos that I've got on my channel. I also had to raise the rear tailpipe profile on the exhaust at the back. I put a round dot there to raise the height so that the profile, the image will look the same, because I've had to raise the make the rear overhang panels deeper. So if I didn't do that, then that would be shallowed in, you wouldn't see it. So I've had to put the single dot there, just to, well, I used the single dot round in this instance to raise up the tailpipe on the exhaust representative. So as you can see, it's still visible because I basically lowered it. I've had to lower all the panels to get the profile right. I still to do this side, the other side's done. I've got the work on the front overhang panels. I've got the mid wheelbase, the wheelbase lower panels adjusted up to the right depth, and the rear overhang with the taper. It's the taper there, and I've still got to do this. Well, it's not press fitted on yet because I'll be opening up the bus to get the seats and all the rest of it put in. But this makes this bit visible now. If it weren't for that, it would be tucked in there. It would be obscured, you wouldn't see it. I like to see it so that it's representing the tailpipe. So I'm going to continue on with the rest of the lower panelling. I removed the front windscreen and thinking of exploring the idea of lowering the windscreen further. So I'm just doing a wee experiment just to see what it looks like and just exploring possibilities for the overall design feature when it's finished. Decided against lowering it any further than it already was, so I'm just going to put it back to its original depth. Now I'm going to concentrate on the front lower valance panels, or not the valance, but the front overhang panels and the front lower, I suppose you could call that a valance panel, or a bump. It's not the bumper, but it's the lower edge panel, lower front overhang panel. So I've got that, some lights to put on, and there'll be the opening for the grille or the engine covers as well. Will have to be incorporated in that design. So I'm going to make a crack on with that. So I've got the front panels done, the lower panels. This bit here comes off to reveal the front part of the engine, and we've got the radiators tucked up in there as well. I might, I'll probably just leave that. You've got the other panel that comes off here as well. That's why they've got the bits on the end there, just to, it's not a complete fit, there's just a connection there and a connection there for ease of removal, which gives access to the side of the engine. And at the other side, I've got like a wee sort of step, well, it's to represent a low floor bus. This cover is part of the cab floor, which could be removed. So this is the registration representative, and I'll show you the bits when they're on in situ. The panel bit here connects to the front, just this connection there, that's to allow for ease of removal. So with all the panels on, the front panel, and we've got the side panel as well for removal, and it's all flush with the rest of the lower skirting panels as well. So looking at the underside, you can see how it's kind of tucked in there, all the components. So there's still an awful lot to go. There's wing mirrors and everything, lights, door, passenger door, wipers. Then it's all sealed off on the inside as well. So I've added a few things to it now. The front sort of destination blind stroke the glass, lots of glass on the front. The wipers, the wing mirrors or side mirrors rather, the dipped headlights parking lights and main beam, all in the one unit, LEDs. Indicator representatives, registration representative, vent representatives, and I've got the side. Oh gosh, a bit cramped here, hang on. Didn't do too much at once, a bit hand tied. Yeah, so I've got the side destination blind, I've got the rear destination blind, and I was just going to, I've got all the exterior lower panels. In fact, I've got the whole, pretty much the exterior panelling done, including the window apertures on the offside. I've still got the apertures to do. I've still got to sort these windows out to get them all balanced up, like what I have done on this side. Just haven't got around to that yet. I'm going to do that now, and that'll be more or less the basics of the exterior profile. And then I'll start concentrating on the inside, the interior. I still have lots of other things to do. I've got the auxiliary components to go on underneath, air tanks, fuel tank, battery, and just various other driveline components. The main driveline components are all there, they're all in. The engine, transmission, prop shaft, exhaust, the suspension, axles, they're all fitted into the chassis. So I'm going to work on these windows now and get that side all balanced up. Right, so that's the offside windows done now. That's all the windows all balanced up and now at the correct depths. So really, the interior is the next main project. I will write up a wee checklist just to check everything through before I declare it finished. Okay, once I do that, I weigh it and get the weight for the finalised weight. So I'm just going to do some work on, well, I'm not going to start too much now because I've been doing other things, but it's 10 to 6. So I've done a wee bit like off and on in this Lego building session, had other things to do, so I've just sort of like just been doing a bit here and there. But I'm not going to start anything big. I might remove these straps and put the longitudinal floor runners in. These straps were added, by the way, during the building. That kind of helped the floor pan keep its strength while I was building it. Now that the chassis is on, I can remove them and put the longitudinal ones in for the seat runner brackets. Got the bus opened up, I'm going to have to reinforce these stairs because there isn't anything built under them to reinforce them. So I'm going to do that now. So I've reinforced the staircase, and the staircase representative will now fit into its location, and it won't collapse so easily. That's what I'm doing for the interior just now. I've put the floor runners along the edges there. That'll stiffen up the floor pan. There's a lot of things to be done yet. There's still the interior lights, the seats and everything, the driver's cab, all that needs to go in. But I'm going to close it up and round this session off once I've closed it up for the day, or for this session anyway. So I've also done the upper deck as well for the floor runners going along. I've still got one to put there and missed that one out. Do that now. Get them all on. Just to do that, that's took us about 20 minutes. That's it closed up for just now. Obviously I need to open up again to put the rest of the stuff in, but I've also balanced up the driver's cab window as well with the rest of the windows, so they're all the same depths. I've got the floor runners in. Both decks have got floor runners. Upper deck and lower deck. So obviously now I've got the interior lights to do and the seats, but I'll not be doing it today. or on this session. I don't know if I'll do anything later on tonight. Depends on how I feel. I might not. But in this session anyway, that's going to be enough work for now. At its current state, it's sitting at 920 grams, so as you'll probably already know if you've watched my videos, 117 grams equals a metric ton. That's my weight synchronisation scale that I use on all my Lego models. So this is sitting at roughly about 7.8 metric tons. The overall weight that I want this to be finished at is around about 9.5 tons, so it won't require an awful lot of ballast. There's plenty of ballast tanks there on the interdecking, but being at 9.5 ton, it won't require much ballast. And the ballast, the coins being the ballast. 2 pence is the bigger one, 1 pence are slightly easier to fit. 5 pence are the best ones because they fit into the smaller spaces and it doesn't alter the model design. So that'll do it for now. I'm going to do another session of working on this model bus. Finished my shift, it's 1:45 in the morning. So I'm going to do just a wee drop of the auxiliary components on the chassis, like air tanks, fuel tanks, batteries, these kind of things. I might even do a wee drop of work for the driver cab, instrument panels. So I've done a wee bit of work. I've added a passenger door. I've also added the vanel screen. That does actually open out slightly. It's not so easy to demonstrate on here. I've also put a driver's instrument panel into the cab as well, with the tilting steering wheel. And we put the driver's seat also. It does tilt slightly. And basically that's the seat arrangement. Driver instrument panel arrangement. Try and get that to focus. Sort of slightly floating dashboard as well, but just anchoring it at one point at the corner, so it's got that kind of floating effect there. We've got this sort of cowling, this white cowling as well on the steering wheel column, which adjusts with the steering wheel, just to add a bit of sort of design to it. This bit does open out the words. It's difficult to show, but I'll try and demonstrate. So it's a bit awkward, but I got it open. So the drivers will access the cab from this opening there. It opens the right way as well. It opens the way it does in real life. It opens inwards. So the front opens in towards the lower saloon. I've also done some auxiliary work as well. I'll just close this cab door. So it's difficult to film at the same time, but it just swings on that pivot there. So there's a kind of like it opens and closes on that orange hinge sort of. It's not secure at the top. I haven't pressure fitted everything yet, so there's still a small gap there on that vandal screen, but I've got to open it up again to put all the seats in and the rear boiler system. I've done work underneath also. I've took the wing mirrors off for now, just to clear access to get access to the cab area, because the mirrors were getting in the way. In fact, I just moved the pillars when I was doing the work. So I'll show you what I've done underneath. So I've added some auxiliary components. I've got a battery representative at the rear, which goes down. That's the clear bits represent the battery. That's the battery fixtures, the battery terminal fixtures. It goes along underneath, and then there's one there as well. I've got a fuel tank representative, and I've got an auxiliary, just some auxiliary components, some air tank auxiliary component representatives, some valve representative there, and a few other auxiliary components there. See if I can show you the components. I'll take them out. I've removed the air tank setup. That's the fits onto the chassis where you saw it earlier. Then there's this valve setup as well. Fits onto the chassis runner. all the components, everything fixed to the is fixed to the chassis components. There's nothing fixed to the floor pan. There's another auxiliary component there as well, I'll show you. And it's just a small sort of valve or a regulator valve for the air brakes stuff. All sorts of things. The fuel tank assembly. Probably just be the 250 litre fuel tank. I'll just incorporate the AdBlue system in within the tank, and that fits to the rear leg of the chassis at the rear overhang. And the molten bracket is the red bit there. That's the 2 dots that fit on. That's how it's able to sit in that situation. Like, that's how it's able to connect up like that. So I've removed the battery setup. That's the brackets there, the purple bits and orange bits, and I suppose you could act up as connectors as well to the chassis. That's the chassis leg, the runner leg that runs the full length of the vehicle, and it fits on just as such in the rear overhang. Oh, and the bottom, so these are flush, so they don't connect up to the floor pan. In fact, I don't even think that one reaches it anyway, which is good. I don't want anything connecting to the floor pan. I want all my stuff connected to the actual chassis to make it more like how it is in real life, because all the running gear components and that are mainly fitted to the chassis. And this is the other battery thing, battery pack I suppose, part of the battery assembly. We've got the 24 volt DC for a bus, and well, buses and trucks generally use 24 volts DC for the battery for your standard vehicles, not electric ones but just like diesel engine ones. For the accessories it's 24 volt DCs normally, different amperage. So that's the components done for now anyway. That will do for now. Passenger door representative just fits on like such, and that represents the door. And I've removed the wing mirrors just to gain access, because they would just fall off if I was working on it. Easy to fit back on. So that'll do for this session of a Lego building. It's about 20 to 3 in the morning. So I'm going to go about my bed. That'll do for now. Right. There's still a lot of work to be done yet. Right, I'm going to do some more work on my Lego Octavia double decker. It's 10 to 11 at night. I was out hill walking today, it was my day off, so I'm a wee bit tired, a bit just chilling out. So I'm going to just do some Lego building. Now this bus is just about finished because I can't add much more features to it, because it runs the danger of being overweight. Now that's without ballast. The ballast is there to get the weight synchronised. I want this vehicle to weigh the equivalent, the weight synchronisation of 9.55 metric tonnes, or 9,555 kilograms, which is obviously for the model, for the weight synchronising scale that I use, which is 117 grams equals a metric tonne. So I would need to multiply 117 grams by 9.55 and it will give me the weight for this model. Now as it stands, without any ballast, it's about, was it now? It's getting dangerously close anyway. It needs to have seats added to it, and the interior lights as well. The driver cab light and passenger entrance overhead light. It needs those added, and I've got to keep an eye on the weight. What I did do is I used the equivalent, don't know where they are, but see if we could find them. Yeah, I used these blocks. They're 4 wide instead of 3. I'm going to be using, well, all my models and all my bus models uses a block of 3 to represent a seat of 2, a 2-seater, for the passenger seats, because obviously it has to leave room for the aisle. So it's 3 dots. But what I did is I counted the number of seats that's going to be getting put in this bus. I actually went over I made it 4, and the seat back representatives are 4 as wide. So I weighed all that, and it just comes to the weight that I need. So there's 40 seats, and I added that in for good measure. So with a bit of, well, it should be less obviously when I add the seats, which gives me a wee bit of leeway, so that if I need to tweak the weight, add a wee bit of ballast, I could, to get it up to 955, or 9,555 kilograms, the equivalent, then there's room to do so. If it's overweight, then that's a real problem, because that means you're going to have to start taking features off and modifying it to get the weight right. The ballast is only there to get the weight up, because genuinely Lego doesn't have the density to get the weight, the weight correct. Because like the engine, for example, is a very heavy component in the real life bus, but the Lego equivalent engine will not have that weight proportion to the rest of the vehicle. So Lego, as I said, the constant is plastic, so it doesn't have the actual weight. I need to add the ballast, which is why I use these coins, the 2 pences, 1 pences and 5 pences. So I've got to be careful I don't get this overweight, because it will cause a problem. So that's why I went over with the blocks. So there should be enough leeway. Recording. Oops. Sorry. Yeah, so this is the seat representative that I typically use for the service bus, Lego buses that I build. As you can see, it's 3 wide rather than 4 block wide, so there should be enough weight left over, a safety buffer, so it won't go overweight. That's why you got to keep an eye on the weight for this. The ballast tanks are there if need be, although them in themselves will add weight and structure to the bus bodywork. So I need to now open up this. I'm just doing the recording. Yep. So I'm going to have to now open up this bus in order to get the interior representatives in. That'll be the seats, the interior lights, and possibly a wee luggage compartment in there as well. Then I'll need to add the driver's overhead, the driver cab light. Then I need to have an overhead light for the passenger platform. There needs to be a light above there. I think that's all I need as far as interior goes. So upper deck and lower deck will need their and also hopper representatives as well. Hoppers meaning the window openings, so the passengers could open a window, and the window bits that open are referred to as hoppers. I need to have a hopper representative for my models. This top shelf quality Enviro 400 MMC that I bought, these there are the hoppers, so they're situated in the correct positions to the real vehicle that I've based it off of. So I need to add those hoppers to this vehicle. The coaches, by the way, don't have the hoppers because the coaches generally have double glazing windows and a full and fully comprehensive integrated ventilation and air conditioning system. This is the normal practice for coaches, whereas the service buses have the windows. Hold on. Thanks. So, as I was saying, yeah, so the windows, I'm going to have to do the hoppers for those, and that's around about it. So the weight should be fine. So I'm not going to do much more recording. I'm just going to get on with the task, and I'll show you it once it's complete, because the video will be too long otherwise. So I'm just going to crack on with it, okay? So just so you know, as it stands, it's sitting at 948 grams, which is the equivalent of 8.1 metric tons as it sits. So it's only really given me 1.45 metric tons to build with, or 1.45 times 117 grams is the actual model weight. That's all I've got to get everything in. That's all that's left, otherwise it will go overweight. Got about 170 grams left to utilise to get the weight up to the actual weight. So I just hope that seats and the seat brackets and the other little things I need to put in there won't send it overweight. Otherwise, things will have to be modified to get the weight back down again, which I don't particularly want to do, because that means it will start changing the model. And I think if I had to do that, the interdecking would be the first thing to go, or the interdecking brackets, the stuff underneath it, and then the interdecking, because it would still visually look the same. It just means it wouldn't be as substantial, because I wouldn't actually be holding any coins, so it wouldn't need to be so many bits of Lego to hold it on the underside. And I was to bracket it, it doesn't need so much support. It'll just be more for cosmetics. But the ballast tanks, the interdecking, is actually acting for three things. It makes it cosmetically look right, because it's interior panel, roof panels. It gives it a structural strength, and it gets the ballast hidden out of sight, because I don't want the coins seen. So it'll be in the ballast tanks, out of sight. And by the way, when I said there was 40 seats, there are actually 40 seats, but because they double up as two, the passenger capacity, seating capacity, is going to be around about 80. Just under, so it's about 40. The back seats and bench seats, and there's going to be a few single seats and folding up seats, but I think, well, I'm going to actually get the seating to 73 seats in the bus. So, because the actual double seats will be a one piece, it's half the number of seats, because the seat will hold two. So you're getting two passengers per seat basically, and most of them will be anyway. So that's why when I said there's 40, that's actually more than what the bus needs. So that should be a good margin for weight, because if it's able to be within up to 9.5 with those, then it should be fine with the actual seating, which will be less than them, and shouldn't put it overweight. Another point I've got to make as well is, generally when I build with Lego, I couldn't really give much thought regarding the colours that I use. I couldn't care less. I just used the colour, I used the component, the type of Lego that's required. That's all I'm interested in. I couldn't care about the colour. I don't have the time, frankly, and I couldn't be bothered to go to the trouble of having to colour code it. On the rare instances where I do use a colour code, the very rare instances that I do use them is when I'm using them for the lights, the clear for the front lights, and the red for the tail lights, the yellow for the rear number plate, and the white for the front number plate representative. And in most cases when I'm building a bus, I'll have a colour coded for the seats, so they're all the same. I don't really care what colour it is, but as long as they're all kind of like matching, that's all that counts. Except for the Elsa. The Volvo Elsa is only one, the particular model is the RV Type one. That one has got to be black, because in the real life bus, they were brown. And these were the buses that I based it on. And just so you know, this is what the Elsa seats were originally, dark brown. I took this picture in 1992 of a Volvo Elsa, the upper deck on an Alexander RV Type bodywork. And the seats at the rear back were actually black. They were actually black, hard black, because of vandalism reasons, so they made them hard, kind of composite material, whereas the actual passenger seats were dark brown. But later in their life they had a mixture. They started adding this orange maquette. That was much later in their life, but originally they came with the dark brown. So for the model that I build, it's got to be colour coded. That's the rare instances when I really do care, when I actually give a lot of thought into the colour codes, because the black is the closest that I have or had at the time. At that time, there was some dark brown there, but I didn't have enough. I didn't have that type in the block, so I just had to settle for black. Because I bought this model 7.5 years ago, and that's Generation 2. Generation 1 I bought was 2012. It lasted 4 years, and I put it into the Lego Pro stocks, then eventually into the Lego Banger version. After I built the Generation 2 one, of course, because I always build the replacement one before I destroy the first one. So I use the first one as a kind of template. And the Generation 2, it's got better, more revised better practices, or the better selection of Lego at the time. So this Octavia bus will have a kind of, if I can, as best as I can, a colour-coded seat match. So I've got to look through this miscellaneous coloured Lego blocks, but they're all blocks. I've separated them into blocks. And I've got to find, well, I'm going to aim to get the seat bases red. So I need 31 of those. That's why the models are generally multicoloured, because, well, they are multicoloured because it's just randomly picked. The colours, as I say, don't mean anything to me. Unless the other rare instance I forgot to mention is if I'm doing a prototype. I can't dig one out at the moment, but when I prototype, when I've got a few of the same, built identical, I use maybe a colour-coded bonnet and roof and tail, just so I know that was the first one that I built. But that's the rare instances where I do care about the colour. Failing that, I couldn't really give much thought to it. I just pick out the type. That's all that matters to me. But in this case, the seats, because they're colour-coded, I've got to spend ages digging through this to find a particular block, and that's painstaking. So you can imagine having to go to all that hassle to do the rest of it to get colour-coded livery. No, that won't be me. I'll just stick with the model parts that I need and just make do with the colour and just imagine it being the livery of the buses. That's just the way I do it. So when you look at the model, the profile looks good, but you can just imagine the livery being whatever you want it to be, and that'll just basically have to do, like, I'm just going to have to settle for that. So we're going to get on with this now. I've got the passenger seats on most of them. I've just got the bench rear seats, but shouldn't be a problem getting them. Should be okay. Some of the bases, the older Lego that doesn't really hold too well, in other words, it just doesn't really hold on, doesn't grip very well, so I've rejected them, and I've had to double up. I had to fabricate a seat. So I've got a 2 block and a 1 block in the back. The seat back representative will hold it together. The seat bracket on the aisle side will go on the block, because obviously it's going to be more secure going on the block rather than on the single bit. So it'll go in the back corner there, and this bit will be floating at the front to give the seat the kind of floating, well, the floating effect. So it looks like basically where you tuck your legs in, the equivalent sense on the seat representatives. Both the seats, including the 2 rear bench seats, sits at 113 grams. 170 grams is what I've got left to play with. The interior lights, I just hope that they don't cause a problem, because they've got to run the full length of both decks on both sides. That's the interior light representatives. I've got to put them all in a row to form one big line of lights, as you might just make out on the upper deck on the Enviro there. So I'm going to do that for this one. Another wee component I need to do, and a modification as well. I need to get a couple of vents put in for here for the boilers, and a boiler representative. That'll just be a small component, so it'll be very limited on what I could do. And just in the process of opening this up, by the way, I'll have to write down boiler system on that list. The back boilers. I've added a boiler system representative at the rear. That's just going to have to act as the boiler system. It's going to be a bit of a sort of ventilation. There's one on the other side as well. I've opened it up, obviously. I've got the lower deck to work on. And also going to put an air filter induction system on the underside of the staircase, which will be the equivalent for the air being sucked in from the outside through a filter, which is housed under the staircase, and then into the turbocharger, and then into the engine. Well, actually, it'll be into the turbocharger, then into the intercooler, then into the engine. It's the Volvo Elses, they don't have the intercoolers. They were built in the 70s. They just went straight into the turbo and then into the engine. The modern buses have intercoolers, so it cools the charged air after being turbocharged. Then it goes straight into the diesel engine. So the air filter representative vent, the exterior vent for the air filter, I might even put something under the staircase to represent it anyway. Although I'm not going to see this, I just like to know that these components are there. And I'm going to maybe put an air filter representative under the staircase as well, and there'll be a wee vent on the side. Perhaps you could see the air induction system for that. On the other side, there's a wee vent there as well. vent representative. I might even put one on the back also. I've also added a rear vent representative where you'll be able to see the boiler system heater matrix. That's the representative for it, the heater matrix representative there. Boiler system stroke heater representative. A vent there on the outside, on the near side, and a vent on the off side. And this will be covered up with this cover, which would be the equivalent of the engine cover for the rear engine bus. It was hard to film and do this at the same time, but it would cover over it like such. So the air boiler system sorted. Now I'm just going to do the air induction system for the engine, the air filter basically, which will be housed under the staircase. So for the air induction, air intake for the engine, this will be the representative here, which will be housed down there under the stairs. So I'll fit there, and the stairs will go over it. There's enough clearance, and I'll have a vent on the outside, so this could be seen. Also, the back seats will be raised slightly. They'll be slightly higher than the rest of the seats on the lower deck. So these seats there are slightly higher than the seats in front. They're lower down. They're higher by 2 flats. So I've got to raise the back rear bench seat up. And because there's a seat runners in there already, which act as floor pan reinforcing as well, I've got to seal up the gap there underneath the rearmost seat, and that should be at the right height. And the next two rows of seats will be at the same elevation as the rear seat. I've also lowered the seat back on the rearmost seat on the lower deck, so it's flush with the boiler cover. The reason the rear engine buses have the seats higher up at the rear is because the floor goes up higher, and that's to accommodate room for the drive line, the differential and the rear axle, the prop shafts, and just engine components basically. The purpose of the bus to have a low floor at the front and at the rest of the lower saloon is for to make it easier for disabled people to get on, wheelchairs and buggies. So it's a low floor bus, but the rear on the lower deck doesn't have to be low floor. So they raise the seats up. Obviously the seats go up with the height of the floor going up, because the floor elevates at the rear. So I've got to do that in my Lego. So I've raised the seats at the rear on this rear motor engine bus. But on the Octavia double decker that I've built and designed, I'm going to mimic that anyway. I'm going to have the seats raised at the rear, just the same as it is on the rear engine bus counterpart. So these seats are raised up higher as well, because on the real life bus, the clearance for the rear wheel, due to the suspension movement, has got to be clearance for it. So the wheel hub basically intrudes into the passenger compartment. So the seats at the rear here cover the wheel arch basically. So as in the same with all the buses. On the LC it's a longitudinal, the seats go lengthways on the rear ones on the lower deck. But on most of the buses now it's family section or all forward facing seats. So I've got to do the same for the other side. It is slightly offset from the wheel, but I'll just have to do it because it's slightly forward. But that's just going to have to make do with that, I'm afraid. That's just due to Lego constraints, Lego limitations basically. The wheel box it off as well, so it's basically, it's a family section. So these seats are facing each other, and these are facing forward. These are facing backwards. Call this area family section. So there'll be another one on the offside as well, and about to assemble that up. So that's the wheel box rather. Basically that would really accommodate for the wheel clearance. But that was raised the seats up at the rear there. Going to knock off shortly. We're not going to do much more. We've got other things to do, then I'll be going to bed. But you could see what I was referring to when I was talking about this bit being unsupported. So it's supported at the back of the seat, and this bit here is unsupported to give you that kind of the floating effect. So it's a representative for where you would tuck your feet under when you're sitting there. So the seats are supported at the back. So that's the seat brackets. So I've done some of the seats. You can see that the first two rows, well, the rear seat and the family section seats are raised higher. You might just be able to make that out. And then they go down lower for the rest. Then I've got the fold up seats, which is these blue ones there. They represent the single seats and the fold up seats. So if a buggy comes on or a wheelchair, these seats fold up. So I'm going to round it off. That's enough for now for this session, and I'll continue later when I have the time, basically. Okay, that'll do for now. So it's 1 in the morning. Going to be doing another wee small session of Lego building with this model. Just turned 1 AM. So technically it is the 24th, but it's really very late, the 23rd. So I think what I'll do is I'll maybe finish off the interior. I was actually contemplating about putting a wee glass partition representative here at the front. Because the luggage compartment there, then there'll be a seat facing forward there as well. So I've added the luggage compartment representative there. I've added the front seats. Oh, it's got a single seat. It's going to be right at the front. That's the wheelchair rear support. So the back of the wheelchair will rest against this representative. I've also opened the bulkhead. I've put this sort of glazing effect for the staircase bulkhead, so you can see through it'll be translucent on the Rio bus, but I'll do a representative on my model. There's 24 of these mats, meaning 24 standees. I've took the seats out just temporarily so I could access space to get them in. There's 24 of them. The lower deck capacity is going to be 30 seating, including the wheelchair. These fold up seats, there's 3 of them, they count as 1, so there's 3 there, there's 1 there, that's 4. And you've got these, obviously the seats are out at this point, but they'll be basically in situ there. I'll just took them out temporarily, so I'll just put them in there temporarily as well, so I could show the number of seats. I'll put them in properly. So there's 30 capacity for seating. You got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Plus the 5, that's 25. 26, 27, 28, 29, and you get the wheelchair, which will include 30. Then you've got the 24 standees. Each of them has 24 of these, which represents floor space matting for where the standees would stand. So it's 24 standees downstairs. The upper deck, there's going to be 47 seats, just like that, on the top shelf Enviro 400 MMC. I also added a glazing glass representative there at the front of the seat, so that it kind of acts as a bulkhead, a see-through bulkhead. And the way of fixing that was to put an angle bracket or an angle Lego from the pillar, and I've put the 2 flats here to make this the depth of 1 block, because I've removed the block and put that there. This acts as a lock to lock this bit of the Lego in, basically, because without that will just basically fall out. So, and that will just be the front bulkhead, glass bulkhead, the front seat. It's just going to have to do. So we're going to get these seats put in properly. So this is the lower deck roof. I've put the light representatives going along. It's the long tube lights that go right along. That'll go above the passenger door. That's the driver cab one. That's just some other sort of like overhead controls for the driver. Double up as monitors as well, representatives. You can imagine it being that, I suppose. So what I've done for the upper deck is I'm going to do the upper deck lighting. I've actually, the runners that go across the roof there, these roof runners, I've moved them in So they were actually, originally they were out on that edge. I've moved them in by one dot in on each side. So that leaves room for the lighting, because I want the lighting to be flush with that. I don't want the lighting to be any higher than that one flat wide. One flat high rather. So the light's going to run along on the outside of these runners. So I'm going to start doing the upper deck roof lighting. I'm just working away along the upper deck roof, as you can see. I've got the other side as well to do. So that's the lower deck roof, the upper deck roof complete. Well, both decks, I've just done the upper deck roof. The lower deck's already been done for the interior lighting. There, as you can see, there's three main sections in the decking. So it's the lower deck roof. You've got the upper deck floor, and you've obviously got the main chassis and floor pan and lower deck floor assembly, which is the main part. And these parts are all held together with pillars, which make up the window apertures. So the next thing I think I need to do is get the seats sorted out for the upper deck. Before I could do work on the upper deck seating, I've got to close the bottom deck up. So I'll put all this back together for the, basically I have this lower deck roof and upper deck floor assembly, the middle section. I'll have that put on the bottom part of the bus. And then once I do that, I'll start press fitting the seats onto the upper deck floor. But before I do close the bottom deck off, I'll just make sure on the checklist that I've done everything that's required for the lower deck. So a sensible thing to do would be to get everything done. The problem is I don't want to close it up because I need to weigh it first. If there's any ballast required, that will go in these interdeckings, the interdeck ballast tanks. So that means the lower deck roof panelling, inner roof panelling will come off to reveal the ballast tank area for the coins to go in, if it needs any. If it's going to be overweight, which I seriously hope it isn't, then I'm going to have to start removing things within the ballast tank, the supports for it, because I won't be needing to support coins. So the covers will just be more for aesthetic reasons, to make it look right, basically. So I'm going to have to somehow dry run this, dry assemble it. In other words, just loosely assemble it, get it onto the scales, and get the thing weighed with all the bits to get the overall weight, so I could synchronise the weight before I actually close it up properly. So I'm going to just loosely put all these seats in. I might actually have to just sit the deck on, not firmly, but just enough to support it. I could even probably just put them on as it is there. I don't like pressing on it this side too much, but I'm probably just going to have to. And then I'm going to have to weigh the whole assembly with all the bits before I actually close it. So I'm going to be able to get on with that now. So I'm just adding the upper deck flooring. I did actually complete the runner system along here. I did actually miss that bit out, but I've noticed it on the assembly, so I've added them in. I would never build a top shelf quality model like this, a top shelf quality model like the two at the back there. These were built in sub-assemblies, and then they were assembled up to a point, and then they were taken apart and put into sub-assemblies, and everything was checked, press fitted. Everything was overlapping. There wasn't any joins like this, bits where it wouldn't overlap. Everything on there is overlapping, so it's all solid, like one piece. Some panels, like these panels, are fitted on as they are. They can be removed, but the other bits can't. They're all interlaced in. Mid-quality shelf model doesn't need to be like that. It's just built as it is. It's just built as you go. So it's a lot quicker and easier. You could say it'd be like a cheaper way of doing it, I suppose, and that would be more of an expensive way. I've got lots of top shelf quality models. I've got a list. I went through all this on my other videos, but I'm not going to make this too long. But no, I would never build a top quality model like this. This is just, the quality isn't quite as good. I build it this way, but it's quicker and easier. So I've got a fair share of mid-shelf ones, and the unregistered mid-shelf ones are just built like this, but going to end up in the demolition derby fairly soon. But this is going to be a registered mid-shelf, so I want to keep a hold of it for a while. Some of the mid-shelf ones are years old. The top quality ones are years old as well. I've been building Lego for years. Well over a decade, about 15 years, longer than that. But with this scale that I'm using now and weight synchronization, I've been building like that, with that scale and weight, since 2012. I think it is 2012, around about there. So I'm going to continue on with the build if we get the seats in, and then I'm going to just loosely assemble it, get it weighed, and then synchronise the weight, and then I'll just fully assemble it after that and declare it finished. Once it's fully assembled and the weight's up to the way I want it, which is going to be 9.55 metric tons, or if you want the actual model weight is 9.55 times 117 grams. I want to get it as close as I can to that. And once I've reached that, and everything on the checklist has been done, ticked off, then I'll declare it finished, and then I'll register it. And I register it to identify my models. It goes with the description of it, double-decker bus, the name I've given it, Octavia, the number of seats, the weight, and the build date. I've explained all that in previous videos, by the way. As I've previously mentioned before, the seat is representatives. The purple round bit there is the seat bracket. It goes in the aisle side, leaving the front bit overlap or floating, so that the passengers basically would be able to tuck their feet under there. And it supports at the back. And it's the same on the other side as well. The opposite side of the seat is fitted to the runners. The runners going along the floor, which also act as floor panel stiffeners, I suppose, or outer supports. There is the inner supports as well, but it just kind of like strengthens it up a bit, and it supports the seat, and it will double up as a air vent for the heating. It could be doubled up to represent that also. So that's the 47 seats on the upper deck, all fitted. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, plus the 5 for the back seat. Total of 47 upstairs. 29 seating downstairs, 1 wheelchair, that's 30, so that's 77, plus the 24 standees, giving it a capacity of 101. This is a specification sheet that I wrote up for the Alexander Dennis Enviro 400 MMC Lego top shelf quality model, of which I've done a video on as part of my Lego project series. And the specifications that I wrote up for it are here. But paying particular attention to the seating and the standees, it is going to be the same for my Lego Octavia. I've got a fleet list and everything for all my Lego models, but I'm not going to go on about that quite at this stage. The next thing I need to do now is just to go through that checklist again, make sure everything's done, and I'll just loosely assemble it, and I'll get it onto the scales, get it weighed. If it's 9.55 times 117 grams, then that'll be it. That's the way I want it to be it. Then I'll just assemble it up and declare it finished. This needs to be 1,117 grams. That's the actual Lego model weight. It has to weigh that, because if you times 117 grams by 9.55, it comes out at roughly that. So I just hope that when I put them onto the scales, that it's going to weigh, if anything, less, slightly less, so that I could then open up the ballast tanks and our decking and put some of the small coins in there to synchronise the weight up to get it to weigh 1,117 grams, or as close as possible. So I'm going to be to crack on with that now. Just one thing that's left that needs to be done, and it's the window hoppers, the window hopper representatives. So all I need to do is count how many there is on this model, because the window profile is going to be the same. They're only made up with the opaque version of those, so it's going to be virtually nothing. So I'll get them out there, but I'll get them onto the scales nonetheless, so that everything is as accurately as possibly could. So I could get it as accurately as I can. Even though the window hoppers may not weigh much, I'll still put the scale the grammage. If it's just sitting at a point where I'll just tip them over to the next gram, then it'll upset the weight. So I've got to get it all synchronised with the coins to get it as close to that 1,117 grams as close as possible. So that's all that's needing to be looked out. So that's the 10 window hopper representatives. That's the 2 wing mirrors. The thing is, the bus is just very loosely assembled. I've got all the panels back on as well. Loosely fitted. They're not on proper. Well, they're on, but they've got to be on. So the includes in the weight the door representative, passenger door representatives there as well. So I'm going to be able to get it up onto the scales and put these onto the roof, and then I'll get the weight and see where I go from there. Bad news, it's overweight. It's coming in at 9.66 tonnes. It's 1131 grams. That's a bit of a disappointment. So I won't need any ballast, but I've got to somehow lose some grams, about 14. So the only way I think, the first thing I would target will be the interdeck supports, because I won't need so many now, and just hope that will bring the weight down. If that doesn't, then I'm going to have to start on some of the auxiliary components to get the weight down. And I'll start by removing these 2 banister covers, and I'll just have them plain. So I'm going to have to get rid of some weight off of this. So first things first, let's get the ballast tanks home. And it's a good job I didn't assemble it fully. So what I've done is I've removed the panels that were between the interdeck floor and the side. Like that of some of the earlier models were built. A lot of the early models were just built like that. In fact, a lot of the early ones didn't even have another deck roof. It was just the supports, and that was it. But I've removed this amount, so I'm going to get it back on the scales and see what it comes in at. Well, the good news is it's at 1113 grams, which is very close. So I won't put any coin ballast in. I'll just maybe add, I'll see what I can do so that the cosmetics, well, the actual aesthetics inside look the same, or cosmetically looks the same. I'll just put them Lego bits here as a minimal of support back into the bus. And there's 1115 grams. And that was just by adding these 2 there. So all the bits there, they all get back. That's the panels, they all go back on. Obviously there's a pillar missing, but the pillar is there. So the actual number of bits that make up this bus are on the scales. And it's coming in at 115 grams. So I need to get another 2 up to 117. So we've got in there and just get. We'll use them in supports on 16, because there's no point in putting maybe some panels on and not others missing, because I'll just look unbalanced. So I'll just put these supports underneath the panels. You'll see in a minute what I mean once I get this up to weight. It's sort of fluctuating between 117, because even just movement, slight movement will cause it to fluctuate. So if I put that on, it's going to kind of stable it. It's more, if anything, it'll go up. I won't drop below 117. So 118, 1118. So maybe try a flat. So I can maybe just settle for that. But better still, I'm going to settle for 1118. Because that's more at 9.554 or something. So I'm going to settle for that. So even just a slight vibration is all it needs. Right, so I'll show you what I'm going to do regarding these bits there that I've added to synchronise the weight. So what I've done is instead of being 2 flats deep, I just reconfigured them and made them 3 deep, so it's effectively like a block, but I'm not going to put a block on because it'll mess up the weight. And this bit here is the back, the lower deck, rearmost panel. So that acts as a support on the inner side, which you won't see it, and that will support the other edge is connected to the runner, the cross runner. These cross supports, they meet up with the angle brackets, meet up with these runners to give it the widthways support. There's 2 supports at each side, plus the centre cross structural beam, and there's another one on there. So that fits like, oh no it doesn't, sorry, other way around, it's like that. And then it keeps the profile the same. It's not connected up fully yet because I'm just filming it at the moment, but it does reveal the area there, but it doesn't need to be sealed now because there's no ballast required. It's still loose and aesthetically correct with the lights, and it's still got a roof panel. Some of the really early models I used to build 10 years ago, which is to find a real old one. There's some upstairs as well. They're pretty old. They don't have their top shelf ones. That's a midi bus that heads the wheels. That doesn't have a interior roof panel as such. You can see it doesn't. And that's regarded as top shelf. That's like an earlier model. That's how I used to build it. But this being a longer, it's about 34 feet long, so 34 centimetres long in the actual Lego model, based on the 34 foot long bus. So it is quite long, so it's difficult to get the weight as low as 955 metric tons. But I want it that way for this particular one. The Enviro 400 mmc weighs 10.8 tons in real life. Some of them are just maybe even just a tad heavier, depending on the specification. But I want my Octavia bus, which is based on that, the Enviro 400 mmc. I want my Octavia to weigh 9.55 tons. So it's a dot longer than the Elsa. That doesn't have any ballast in it. But this is slightly bigger, so it was harder to get the weight down to keep it as low as that. But quite complex as well, and as a build, the techniques get more complex. The later models have got more complexities built into them because of just practice and a bigger selection of Lego that I've got. So I'm going to pretty much assemble it. If there is a slight difference in grams after that, there shouldn't be, but if there were, I would just probably add a small component or something underneath there. It won't be much, but just maybe a wee auxiliary component on the chassis side. Just, I won't actually alter the look of the bus, but it will give it more of a, I'll get the weight right, so I can synchronise it that way as well. So I'm going away to assemble it up for good now. I'm going away to seal it up fully with the declared weight. And if for some reason it is different, because maybe it was sitting differently on the scale, then I could easily synchronise it just by putting a few small components on the underside, and they'll represent maybe some sort of auxiliary component, maybe like a valve or an air tank or something. Just to show again that the lower deck floor still retains the same kind of look about it. It still has a sealed up the old smaller ballast tanks here above the driver cab and above the gangway at the opposite side of the stairs. That's still in situ. They were just small ballast tanks and I didn't need to affect those, so they're just as they are. But it still looks okay, so I'm going to let that go. Again, I'm going to get this assembled up now. The final assembly. I'll film putting on the last component. This is the driver's side wing mirror or exterior side mirror. That's the assembly that the bus complete. The date is the 3:10 in the morning. It is technically Wednesday the 24th, but you could say it's very, very late. The 23rd of January 2024. It's technically Wednesday 24th because it's after midnight, it's 3:10 in the morning. But I'm just going to consider it being a very late 23rd. So I'm going to declare it the 23rd of January 2024. Although it's not been registered officially, I'll probably register it tomorrow or whenever I get a chance. It's built on the 23rd, completed. At least that's the date I'm going to say anyway. So I think now we need to just get on the scales for a final check. Sitting perfectly at 1,118 grams, which is the divide that by 117, comes in at roughly 9.55 metric tons. It's just how I want it to weigh. So it's finished, it's built. I'm going to give it a final check probably later. Well, not tonight, and not doing any more now. I'm going to make my bed. I've done enough. I've completed it. I wanted to get it finished, so I've finished it now. The next video I'll go through basically like registering it, and I'll just sort of go over the whole concept of the design again, and I'll write up an essay or a specification sheet for it. Something similar to this, what I've already done. I've got loads of these, by the way. I've got a register and my folders. I'm not digging it out just now. Got 3 registers. It's quite ironic really, because the mid-shelf unregistered, as I call it, has actually got a register, because I register it, I keep a note of the date, but it's just built for the temporarily, whereas the mid-shelf register ones are built for the long term. And when we decided to make this into the Octavia double-decker that I named and designed and built, because to my knowledge there's no bus out there like this, with this sort of configuration of an engine transmission at the front, a back boiler system at the bottom back, and the rear seats are behind the rear seats as well. Not at the bit at the back where the engine would be if it was a rear-engined bus, based on the Alexander Dennis Enviro 400 MMC bodywork. There's no bus with that profile out there in real life. There is the Enviro 400 MMC, there were else's, but there wasn't any bus called Octavia to my knowledge like this. I wanted to have a design like this, so I've designed it this way, and with the weight and everything and the seating capacity. So I'm going to just round it off at that for now. It's 3:15 in the morning. That'll do for this session. Okay, so I haven't actually showed myself on the camera in this video yet, so I'm doing it now. The model is built. I don't do too much at once here. There's one thing I need to do before I declare it built, or before I declare it finished. I did say yesterday that it was finished, but there's a modification I want to do. I forgot to do something with it, and I'll show you what I mean. What I need to do is add a ledge down there, like a window ledge. I forgot to put that in. It will involve a 1x8 block, and that will put the weight up slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm afraid I'm going to have to open it all up again and adjust the ballast. because if I put the block on without that, I'll send it overweight by a few grams, and I don't want that. So I'm going to make a separate video for that. Tomorrow, this part will be a long part. This part you're watching. The next part, I'm going to do 2 parts to this video. There's the construction part, which is this one, the big long part, and then the part 2 will be when I open this up, adjust the ballast, then reassemble it again and give it the final weight. And I'll probably write up a wee sort of specifications sheet like what I'd shown earlier on the other clip on the last session. So this will be the end of this part. I wasn't sure I was going to compile it, but just for ease of simplicity and just going to make this a long part, it'll be probably over 2 hours. So yeah, you'll need a big cup of coffee. Just watch it in bits. The next part will be done here, because down in the alcove there's too much background noise. I can't expect them to switch the TV off while I'm doing the video. I wouldn't ask them to do that. So I'll do the video up here, because what I'm going to do is record me actually taking it apart. So I've got the camera stand there, and I'm going to record it taking it apart, doing the adjusting of the weight to synchronise the weight, and then I'll reassemble it. So you'll actually see me doing Lego building, or you'll see the Lego building being done. Whereas in this part you'll have just seen where I've been updating every time I've done work on it, because I can't film and do building at the same time. But in this instance, in the next part, I will be, because I've got the camera stand, and it's easier to do it in this room here. So okay, so thanks for watching this part. I hope you watch the following part. I hope you've enjoyed this part anyway, and I hope that you do watch the next part, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, right, see you in the next part. Thanks.